when it comes to Destiny 3, I feel like, I'm sure you've probably seen this, but probably like 75% of people, I think it's shifted. I think it was, initially I'd say it was about 25% of people maybe a year or two ago thought that a Destiny 3 would happen, and 75% of people thought that it wouldn't, because Bungie did say that we're not going to make a Destiny 3, we're just going to pour into Destiny 2. They did say that, which is why a lot of people believe that. But then, as we know, plans change. Bungie changed their mind. They have every right to, and things get delayed, things get made up, things change all the time. So I think a lot of people are still holding Bungie to what they said, what was it, like 3-4 years ago, when they said that we're not going to make a Destiny 3, but a lot can change in 3-4 years. Like Bungie since then, and this guy is saying that they've started, they started very small early development in Witch Queen. So it seems like I've seen a kind of shift maybe in the past 6 months. I'd say it was maybe like 50-50, like half people believe there's no Destiny 3 and that will never happen, half people believe it will happen. Now I'd say it's about 75 believe it will happen, maybe 25 don't think it, but the 25% are very adamant, like they're not going to make a Destiny 3, it's not going to happen. But the 75% that do believe it will happen are very adamant. But I am personally, and I think you are too, as you've said, I'm of the belief that Destiny 3 will happen. Initially, I thought it would be a while, like, who knows, maybe 4 or 5 years in the future. Now seeing this stuff, I think it's maybe a little bit sooner. But I think just, we can talk about gameplay, we can talk about narrative, we can talk about subclasses. But I think just business-wise, like, let's all just remember, this is a business. Bungie is a company. They have shareholders. They are owned by Sony. They need to make money. They need to be profitable. We've seen how Destiny has been in the past year. And if we think about what Destiny 2 will be like in a year from now with no expansions, if they don't do any, or just episodes, like, they need to make money. So it just put yourself, this is the way I think of it. Like, imagine that you are the CEO of Sony or Bungie. You own Bungie and Destiny is your thing bringing in the money. Would you not want to make a Destiny 3? Like, sure, it's going to be difficult. I'm saying it like it's just easy. Like, oh yeah, let's just click your fingers and make a Destiny 3. But you would want to make a follow-up to one of the most successful games in history and in your company's history.
Yeah, the game that has practically defined live services and eats most of the market comparatively to a lot of the others that are around there, like games launched today that fail purely based on the fact that people refuse to play them. Like, obviously there is a big competitor out there now with Helldivers, but I mean, more credit to them. They're off there doing their own thing and having fun with it, which is what you should really be doing on the side of it. But Destiny still brings its own unique flavor. And I think that the lessons that have been learned, hopefully, from Lightfall will now be able to be implemented for the development of D3. I pray, I hope, God, I beg, because that would mean that the developers are actually able to get on with the job of doing the development thing and engaging with what has made Destiny 2 great over the years, and the disengaging from the things that have really held it back. I'd also say this, and it's kind of brings the commentary back a little bit towards the Luke Smith announcement of it. I do just wish, I know that they can't explicitly come out there and say, yes, Destiny 3, but I do wish that before the point we're at now, sometime like maybe this time last year, they could have sat down and definitively said in a post, when the final shape is over, Destiny is not finished. Just sat there and given a landmark post, because it would have squashed so much of the sentiment, and it would have made it so much easier for them in this position. I don't think Luke Smith would have had to make that statement if it wasn't for the fact that Bungie had been absolutely silent, dead silent on the nature of what the future was going to look like going forward. Because the only reason the speculation about, is Destiny continuing or not exists is because of the fact that Bungie has said F all, it's said nothing. And I understand the reason why for that too, because the focus is on the end of the saga, it's on the final shape. But the problem with focusing on the end of the saga is the word end, and you need to remind people that saga is just one large set of stories in a universe.
And a strange, ambiguous word. No one really knows. It's like saga, it's like the end of this story, but not Destiny, but it's the whole Destiny story. Yeah. So it's...
Yeah, they have a franchise, they have an IP, and it is successful. And I think it's just at that point where they really needed to come out ahead of the curve and sit there and say, hey, this didn't just disappear overnight, you know? Like, this is still here. It's very much still a franchise that you're going to be able to come back to, even when the first big saga of it finishes. You know, much as it's always found a little bit of a muddle in its way, Halo didn't end after Halo 3. It's had spin-offs, it's had the continuation of the mainline games into 4, 5, and Infinite, and it still had other things going on with it, you know? I mean, I may not have particularly played a ton of the Halo spin-offs, but some of them have not done badly. Halo Wars 2 reviewed pretty well, if I'm remembering correctly, and I loved the original, played the second one too. So, like, it's more than just even the mainline games. Bungie is sitting there looking to become a publisher. They have an IP that they completely control and completely own. They should be looking at doing more stuff with that. So ultimately, yeah, like, Destiny isn't going anywhere, but it's just one of those things of sitting there and reminding the community, because we are so very insular when it comes to our stuff, right? We're here in the core of our gaming sphere, and it's really hard to not sit there and remember and look at what we're doing and think that that's all that exists. You know, like, it's very hard to not sit there and have that be where our mental bias just is perched. So it's good to shake the branches every once in a while and actually remind ourselves of the reality of, like, no, this is a big IP, this is a big franchise. It has made Bungie a multi-billion-dollar company. So, like, you know, like, let's not ignore the idea that this is going to be around here. Like, the Funko Pops are still getting made, guys. Like, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're in a weird position because they've been communicating the narrative that this is the end of, like, the saga, whatever saga means, in order to make people, like, hyped that, oh, there's going to be a conclusion, like a big Avengers Endgame, like, we're going to get a conclusion to the main enemy of Destiny. But then at the same time, you can't say that without also making people think, well, is that the end of the game then? Because if the main enemy is gone, then what else is there? So it's a difficult spot narrative wise, because on one hand you're like, this is the end, this is the big conclusion, but then it's also like, well, if it's the conclusion, then surely that means it's over and there's nothing else to look forward to. But then that's why, you know, Luke had to come on and be like, well, there's still more. And that's why just all over everywhere for the last 6 months and even before, people have been saying, like, yep, I'm just going to see the story through to the end and I'm ready to just move on to other games. And my time with Destiny will probably end. Content creators as well, streamers, they would also been saying, like, yeah, I'm probably just going to move on to other games after, because but that tells you what their perspective of Destiny is, because a lot of people who are very clued in also believe that Destiny is ending. And, you know, you can see why, like, we have good reason to think it. So now they're kind of having to course correct and be like, well, like, this isn't the end.
Yeah.
And also, again, like we've said, people aren't wrong for thinking that there wouldn't be a Destiny 3, because Bungie did say with Beyond Light, like, we're not going to do Destiny 3. The stuff that we kind of would have done, the Witch Queen, Beyond Light, Final Shape, or Lightfall, is we're just going to put it in Destiny 2 instead, and we're going to vault a bunch of Destiny 2's original content, like the Red War, the Leviathan, that kind of stuff, and we're just going to supplement it and just swap in Destiny 3. So Destiny 2 is basically Destiny 3, because the original, like, what we originally got in 2017, almost none of it is playable right now. So Destiny 2 is basically Destiny 3.